A company when they call the CIA.
That one's especially bad. Listen, there's one that's worse. It was on the CBS network in the United States, and it was called Covert Affairs. Stupid name for a stupid show. I watched one episode. So this analyst just walks into the Oval Office. First of all, you would be arrested if you did that.
Okay. So,
You don't even have access to the Oval Office, and you just walk in like you own the building. And she says, Madam President, the president, of course, is a black woman.
okay.
She says, Madam President, I need to take a hit out on someone. It's like, what? First of all, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder. You can't just walk like you own the White House. You walk into the president's office. I watched one episode I said I'll never watch it again. And then it was canceled. But I've been an advisor on, 4 or 5 Hollywood movies and several different series where they'll send me the script 6 months in advance, and I go through the script line by line, and I say, nope, that would never happen. Yes, good point. There was one. I was consulting on a TV series called True Lies, based on the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. And they told me, read the script carefully and tell us if all of it is true to life, if it would really happen. Well, in the very opening scene, there's this clandestine operation in London. And I said, no, 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 this would never, ever happen in London. We are so close to the British that we would have to inform the British in advance that we're
to any other country, ever, under any circumstances.
You know, I feel like I should apologize to every Iraqi for what the United States did to their country. Saddam Hussein was a very bad man, very, very bad man, like epically, historically bad. But it's not up to the United States to decide who should lead what country. So first, my apologies to the Iraqi people. It was unforgivable what we did. Secondly, Saddam was the only Sunni bulwark against Iran. And the Kuwait situation aside, which was absolutely horrible, what Saddam did to Kuwait in 1990 and 1991, he essentially protected the rest of the Gulf from Iranian expansionism. I do not think that Iranian influence will be diminished in the near term. I think that the Iraqi central government is weak because we destroyed the country, and they don't have a long history of, rule of law. And so the Iranians have taken advantage of that. Now, the only reason I think that things aren't worse is that the Iranians are weak. Sanctions have made them weak. American and Israeli bombings have made them weak. And so that has at least allowed the Iraqis a little bit of time to get on their feet. This is certainly an issue that bears watching. It's very important. Iraq is obviously one of the most important countries in the entire region. It sits on an ocean of oil, and its people are very resourceful.
Yeah, so it's a team.
And what they do.
Sure. This is a team of 6 people. They're wearing all black pants, black shirts, black hoods, black everything, black gloves. Everything is black. All you can see is little slits with their eyes. And one of them says, John, what are you doing here? I go, who are you? And he lifts up his mask, and it was my last boss at headquarters.
Oh, wow.
The guards are supposed to be doing their rounds every 15 minutes, or if there's a suicide watch situation going on, every 8 minutes. And with Epstein, it was like 2 hours before they finally made their rounds. Why? Because number one, they're either jacking off in the guard booth, which happens all the friggin' time, or they're sound asleep in the guard booth, or they're on the phone with their girlfriends, or they're surfing the internet. So no, they don't make the rounds. And then people are like, oh, but there's a glitch. There's this 1 second glitch. Yeah, because every night the cameras reset themselves. They're old cameras. They still use tape, and they tape over yesterday's.
One of my colleagues, and he said, hey, headquarters is sending in a plane tonight, and we're going to put them on the plane. and he's going to go. I said, where's he going? He goes, I don't have any idea. So I said, Abu Zubaydah, you're going to be taken out of here and they're going to send you to someplace else. He said, where? I said, I have no idea. But again, my friends are not nice like I am. You really have to cooperate if you want to have any remnants of a life left. So he was very upset, very frightened is what it was. And he kept asking what time it was, because I said the plane is going to come in. And then we heard the plane land. It landed, I'm going to say it probably landed around midnight. And 3 FBI agents came in and we maneuvered him onto a gurney. And I said, we're going to carry you out and we're going to put you on the plane.
And 2 people just walk into your room?
Kill them!
He was... I asked him if he had access to a target. And he said, not today.
But I could fuck her if I wanted to.
I said, get out of here. He goes, she's been flirting with me for 40 years. I said, well, she has something that I want. Can you get close enough to her to get it? And he said, yeah. I said, then get it.
So he triggered the meeting to say,
He fucked her.
and she gave him everything that I had asked for, and he wanted to give it to me. I said, you're a dog, you know that? You're like an animal. I said, you're an old man.
You're older than my father, I told him. And you're banging women to get information from them? He's like, this is the life we've chosen for ourselves.
If the CIA recruits so many assets, how many people in our government or people with intelligence do you think have been recruited? Thanks so much. Love your stories. Thank you. Almost none is the answer, because we generally don't recruit Americans. When you recruit an American, you have to get special permission from the director of the CIA. It has to be for a very narrowly defined operation for a finite period of time. For example, if you're a businessman and you happen to have joint citizenship with,
appoint a new pope. If you kill Ayatollah Khamenei, you're not going to bring down Iranian society or Shiism. Mohammed, I want to ask you about the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, his assassination and the killing of virtually his entire family. I gave an interview recently in which I equated the assassination with killing the Pope. If you kill the Pope, you're not going to bring down Catholicism. They'll just appoint a new Pope.
Let's just dose strangers.
I said, no, I'm not a child molester. And he goes, okay, you could sit with the Aryans in the cafeteria. And I was like, oh,
I guess I'm with the Aryans now. Grand.
They're saying, housekeeping, senor, housekeeping. And I go, I don't need housekeeping. I don't need housekeeping. The second guy behind him pulls out a gun and goes, bang, bang. He shoots me with 2 paint pellets. I go,
Fuck! I said I never saw that coming.
I do my meeting. I'd come home, 6 o'clock in the morning, just in time to shower and shave and get dressed to go to work. And she would say,
What was her name?
the truth is, I had been sitting in a
Garbage dumpster.
waiting for a guy to drive by down the alley and throw a bag of documents in,
And I stunk.
of garbage. And I said to her, do I seriously smell to you?
Like I've been with a woman. Seriously.
So we ended up getting a divorce. There was a woman who was
The ugliest woman I've ever seen in my life.
like, you want to avert your eyes. Like she came off
The side of Notre Dame.
So I asked her just to meet me privately for lunch on Saturday. Don't tell anybody. She agreed. And I was like, oh my God. She said yes. And I ran back to the office. I was like, she said yes. And my boss says, okay, here's what I want you to do.
I want you to fuck her.
And I said, what? I said, have you ever seen her? And he said, I know, but we're the good guys. And you're going to have to take one for the team. And I go, oh my God. I said,
Okay, I'll do it.
hey, Isaiah. John Kiriakou here. I do have some stories that I've never told before. I'll tell you one. You may have heard me mention that the night that we captured Abu Zubaydah in Faisalabad, Pakistan, we caught dozens and dozens of Al-Qaeda fighters.
Did he have a wife?
No.
He was single.
Which was unusual at his age.
How did you know he was gay?
Oh, I just, it was a vibe.
Okay.
So,
headquarters says,
We want you to pretend that you're gay. I said, oh, come on, you guys.
no, we really need the information. You gotta pretend that you're gay. I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it for Uncle Sam. So, I call him and I said, hey, I have 2 tickets to this show and
and I said, you have to move it to another country. And so when it came out 6 months later, I was so excited to watch it. So I'm watching it. And then the whole scene was in Brussels. And I said, they listened to me.
Great.
Another one was they're in a mosque and everybody's praying and they all have shoes on. And I said, no, 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 you can't have everybody praying with their shoes on. Have none of you ever been in a mosque?
That story.
I am so proud of that operation. And I wish that it had been my idea. It was not my idea.
Was it not? No.
I had a mentor at the CIA. He was an old man. He was a retiree. His name was Gus Avrakadis. He became famous, and they even made a movie about him, Charlie Wilson's War, in which he's played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. Okay. So I told Gus, I said, listen, this enemy country, the CIA won't allow me to say what country it is, but it's kind of obvious. This enemy country, they're getting a new intelligence service representative, and I want to bump into him. But this is not a guy who's going to be at a diplomatic cocktail party. How do I get to him? So Gus gave me this idea. I was much younger at the time. I was 35 years old. My hair was darker. I grew a beard and it was dark. Now I'm all gray. But I put some books in a book bag. I went to his house. I saw his car was on the street, and with my book bag, I broke the side view mirror off of his car. So I picked it up. I went to the next door neighbor just to provide cover for myself. And I said to the woman, is this your car? She said, no, it's the man next door. He doesn't speak Greek.
It was none of my business where they were taking him. And his job was to deliver the prisoner from point A to point B, not to know who the prisoner was and what his background was. He's a delivery man. And so we laughed, hugged each other. I got off the plane. And then over the next couple of days, we shuttered things down and transferred all the weapons and the gear. And most of it we just donated to the Pakistanis. And I went back to Islamabad.
Genuinely worried because they just simply can't read Donald Trump. And I said to somebody in the Emirati government today, I said, you know, you're not the only ones who have trouble reading him. There was a reporter just 2 weeks ago who was interviewing the president, and she asked him who his advisors are. And he said, quite truthfully, I don't have any advisors. I just do whatever my gut tells me to do. And that's what makes him so unpredictable. That's why the Iranians are scrambling, because they don't know what to expect either. With that said, I was talking to Colonel Doug McGregor a few days ago about Iran's hypersonic missiles. And I said, Doug, I'm not a military guy. I don't know the details of these programs. Can an aircraft carrier defend itself from a hypersonic missile? And he said, no, there's no defense from a hypersonic missile. Well, the Iranians have hypersonics. The Chinese and the Russians gave them the technology, and they developed it internally, domestically.
Why were the guards like...
Oh, they would never let because the guards are... Yeah, I just stopped myself from saying a word that's not supposed to be
retarded?
Used. These guys are so stupid. You know, a guard from the prison where I was emailed me. He saw one of the podcasts, and he said, "This is exactly why we wanted to kill you." And I said, "Bring it, tough guy."
Why he wanted to kill you?
Yeah, because I say they're morons and retards and this and that, and it's all true. It's true. Learn to read, and then maybe we can have a conversation. I mean, otherwise, put up. Let's go. I'm not afraid of these guys. But this is why everything went wrong. Because what we saw go wrong the night Jeffrey Epstein died goes wrong every night. It's the same thing.
But so perfectly like that, you think it could line up that way?
Yes, I saw it. I saw it. For example, not supposed to have microwaves in the housing unit, right? Mm-hmm. And then people are like, you know, you bitch long enough, they're gonna put in a microwave. So they put in a microwave. All right, there was a serial killer in my unit, and he took a liking to me inexplicably. I have to agree with you. If you don't have your self-respect.
I said, we're going to carry you out and we're going to put you on the plane. And he asked if I would hold his hand. So with one hand, I'm holding his hand. With the other hand, I'm holding the gurney like a coffin, like pallbearers at a coffin, at a funeral rather. And we carried him out to the plane. And this is a small private jet that the CIA has. So we had to stand him up, physically stand him up to maneuver him like a piece of furniture onto the plane, take him to the back, and then we laid him out on the luggage rack at the back and then tied the gurney down to the luggage rack. And he's crying the whole time, blood all over us. And he squeezes my hand and he said, pray for me. And I said, you have to cooperate. And that was the last thing I said to him. So as I was getting off the plane, the staff on the plane, it's something, well, no, I won't say what it's called. It's got a classified name.
The British government got it from the Italian government. So we asked to see the original report. I'll never forget this. So the British send us the original report, and I'm looking at it. My boss and I we're standing next to each other looking at it. And I said, it's a forgery. And he said, 100% it's a forgery. I said, it's not even in the right font. It's like somebody just sat at their computer and wrote this pretend intelligence report. And then they wrote top secret at the top and the bottom. I said, it's not even in the right format. Like somebody with 1 day of experience could see that this is a fake report.